There are hundreds of thousands of people in the Philippines working under government contracts. But what do those contracts, those job titles, actually mean? Well, today we're going to break down the crucial differences between two terms you hear all the time: contract of service, or COS, and job order, or JO. Let's get right into it. This statement from the Civil Service Commission, it really gets right to the heart of the whole issue. See, recent government announcements brought a sigh of relief to a lot of contractual workers, but like this quote says, that relief came with a pretty major catch. So let's figure out what that limit is and, more importantly, why it matters so much. For weeks, really, the big question on everyone's mind was whether these contracts were going to be renewed. A new circular finally gave us an answer. But to really get what it all means, to understand its real impact, you first have to understand what these contracts are all about. Okay, first up, let's take a look at the contract of service, or COS. The easiest way to think about this is like the government bringing in a specialist, an expert for a very specific mission. So, look at the key words in the official definition here: consultant, technical expert, and special project. Right away, that tells you a COS isn't for just any regular staff job. It's all about bringing in a very specific skill for a temporary, clearly defined purpose. So, in the real world, a COS engagement means you're hiring some specific expertise for a project that has a clear start and a clear end date. A perfect analogy? Think of a government agency hiring an architectural firm to design one single new building. They need the architects for that project, right? But not forever. So where would you typically find COS workers? Well, think about things like conducting a really complex environmental study, or building a brand new digital payment system for the government, or maybe providing specialized training that an agency's permanent staff just doesn't have. It's all about bringing in that outside talent for a very, very targeted need. All right, let's move on to our second category and see how it's different: the job order, or JO. If COS is all about specialized expertise, JO is all about getting a specific task done. Now, the definition for a JO, it paints a totally different picture, doesn't it? The focus here is on piecework or intermittent jobs and very hands-on tasks like carpentry or clearing debris. This is all about short-term, task-based work. This really just boils down to manual labor for short and often pretty unpredictable tasks. So our analogy isn't an architect anymore. It's much more like hiring a local crew for a one-day cleanup after a big typhoon hits. And the examples are super direct and practical. A JO worker might be brought in to help clear fallen trees from a road, or do some emergency plumbing repairs at a government office, or even just provide some extra hands during a special event. It's work that has to get done, but it isn't part of what that agency does day in and day out. Okay, so we've seen how COS and JO are different based on the kind of work they do, but there is one crucial, critical point they both have in common. And honestly, it's the single most important thing to understand about these contracts. This phrase right here: this is everything. No employer-employee relationship. Let that sink in for a second. For both COS and JO workers, the government does not consider itself their employer. This means they are not regular government employees. They're not covered by civil service laws, they don't have tenure, and they miss out on all the benefits that come with a permanent government job. So let's just put it all together here side by side. The nature of the work is different: specialized for COS, manual for JO. The way they're paid is different: market rates versus a daily wage. But look at that last row, the most important one: employment status. For both of them, it's exactly the same: not a regular employee. And that is the critical takeaway. Despite their differences, neither of these contracts offers the security of a permanent government job. Okay, so now that we get the contracts, let's circle back to that big news story. What was decided for the thousands and thousands of workers whose contracts were about to end? This was the big question on everyone's mind. Were we about to see mass non-renewals at the end of the year, leaving a huge number of people suddenly without work? The answer finally came, and it came in the form of a joint circular. That's an official guideline released by the Civil Service Commission, the Department of Budget and Management, and the Commission on Audit. It laid out the new rules of the game. And here it is, the heart of the decision. First, the good news: contracts can be renewed. That was a huge relief for so many people. But, and here's that limit we talked about at the beginning, agencies are now capped. They cannot hire more contractual workers than they currently have on the books. So, while existing jobs are safer now, the door is basically closed on expanding those numbers. This recent decision gives everyone a temporary solution, a bit of breathing room. But it leaves us with a much, much bigger question. As the needs of the country change, as government services evolve and go digital, what role will these non-permanent, specialized, task-based contracts play in the future of our public sector? That is the real conversation this decision has just kicked off.